I am a 30-year-old male, and I'm considering ending my relationship with my partner, 26-year-old female, due to her $250,000 in debt. My girlfriend has $250,000 in private student loans from undergrad private school with a variable interest rate. Recently, the interest hit over 11%, and doing the math on the loans has me devastated. With how fast her debt is growing, she will need to put $25,000 a year into it just to keep it in the same place. This basically guarantees that I will never have financial help during our relationship. Additionally, with how much she will need to work just to pay on the loans, I won't have much help around the house or with kids if we ever have them. I keep blaming myself that I can't just deal with it. It's just money, right? But at the same time, when I look at the reality of the situation, I can't help but feel I need to walk away from this relationship. Additionally, she's going back to school in the fall for a higher paying job, probably 60 to 85K income at the end, realistically, with the possibility of 125K a year if she works herself to death. But this program will add another $30,000 in federal loans. I think it is a bad decision for her to return to school, but it's also the only option she seems to have to up her income. I don't feel like I want to wait until I'm 45 years old when this debt might be paid off to have children. I don't want to put my life on hold in this way, but I also love her a lot. We've talked a lot about this and about her plan to pay it down. It now feels like my options are either accept this reality and it will be many years before she's free of this debt or end the relationship. Now, even though this is from 3 years ago, you know that I believe we can learn from debt stories, regardless of the time period, and especially when it comes to student loans. So I have said to you, so really quickly, okay, she has $250,000 in private loans from undergrad school. That is obscene. That is criminal. That should be absolutely unlawful. That a person can be charged a quarter of $1 million for her undergrad private student loan. And I really don't even get a true idea of what she majored in. The interest, 11%. Okay, $25,000 a year, family, just to keep the interest from going up. And it's funny because, I think, why I canceled my cable bill? I know it seems off topic, but work with me. It really is. Okay, it's on topic. You know why I canceled my cable bill in 2013 after I got divorced? Because I realized, you know what? If I miss one cable bill, because when I was married, we had a $300 a month, or I mean, it's about $250 a month cable bill, not because I wanted one. Okay. But he did have a business and we need to have the extras, yada, yada. Okay. But that's beside the point. But when I became single and that cable bill, I carried it to the next place out of habit. And after about 4 months, I thought to myself, well, this is just stupid. A $250 a month cable bill, bad enough as that is, but if I were to miss a month of cable, I would owe them about $500. And I remember when I was married, we missed a month of cable and the bill was darn near $600. And I remember thinking to myself, that is just obscene that I could miss one cable bill. And all of a sudden, I'm in hock for hundreds of dollars. Well, in this case, she's in hock for the thousands of dollars if she misses a bill. She's looking at what is it, about $2,000 a month, respectively. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. One. Yeah, isn't that about right? $2,000 a month. Wait, hold on, you guys. I'm really bad at math. Hold on. I told you I'm really bad at math. Give me just a second here. 25,000. No, I'm not going to edit this out because I hate editing. Divided by 12. What is that? Yeah. Hey, I wasn't so far off. Okay. So just a little over $2,000 a month. That's just to keep up on the interest. And for some reason, I think that's low. It just seems a little bit low, but we'll go with that number. Okay. So around 25,000 a year just to keep up on the interest. So imagine if she misses a month. We are talking, family, more than $4,000 bill if she misses 1 month of student loan payment. And he's absolutely right. She's going to have to work long hours, and that means she's not going to be available to be at home. And should they ever have kids, if they could ever afford kids, the work's really on him to do it. See what happens sometimes, and you've heard me say this, people go, and they do this with kids when someone has kids. Oh, don't worry about paying for my kid. I just met you, but I've been paying for my kid all these years. So even if we have a relationship, you're not going to ever have to worry about paying for my kid. No, you have a child. The child comes with you. It becomes our responsibility to financially care for the child. You don't get married to somebody, hopefully, when one of you has kids, one or both of you, and you go, well, when we go out to eat, I'm not paying for your son or daughter's, meal because that's your child and you're responsible for them. No, it don't work that way. Once you join union, it's everybody's responsibility to take care of the child. Well, and I think this is a good point right here. You've heard me say it. People marry with student loan debt and they think, oh, well, I'll just take care of the debt myself, which, if you think about it, is kind of the situation here. They've sat down, they've had discussion with each other, and she's like, yeah, basically, I'm going to interpret here, okay? Even though it was not said directly, we could infer. That is, she's going to work to pay off her student loan. She's going to worky. Great. But what he's figured out, and rightfully smart, and rightfully so, who's going to support the household? Well, she's paying off all her debt. Oh, that's right. He's going to support it. The electric, the rent, the cable, the car insurance. He's going to have to support that. I kind of align that with the same analogy with the child. Okay, so you bring in a child. Okay, great, fine, whatever. But maybe you have, maybe you're the one paying child support. Maybe you're the one that has custody of the child. Either way, the child's going to cost money. And it's not as simple as just saying, oh, don't worry, you're not responsible for paying for my child's bills. Yes, the other person is responsible. And same thing with the debt that you bring into the relationship, same thing with the student loan that you bring in. Let's see here. He says he's blaming himself, that he just can't deal with it. I think perhaps we need to have more people thinking like this. I'm not saying that you should break up because someone has student loan debt. All right. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is perhaps before we get ourselves into the debt, we need to stop and we need to go, oh my God, I cannot deal with a $2,500 student loan. And I'm telling you, I think that $2,500 low. That's coming from the writer. You're talking $250,000. So I really, really believe that is low. But let's just go with what the writer says. Okay. We need to be afraid of the debt before we get ourselves into it. I don't know what the bejesus school she went to for a private undergrad, unless it was something like, what is it, like NYU, Columbia. It's got to be an Ivy League school of some sort up there. At the same time, when I look at the reality of the situation, I feel like I need to walk away. Let's see here. Oh, and this just blows my mind. She got to go back to school, get herself another $30,000 in debt. So now we're looking at 280,000. See, this is why I don't care when the stories are a few years old. She got the debt right now. As a matter of fact, she's probably still in school right now. So we are now looking at 280,000. We're probably looking realistically to a closer $3,000 a month student loan. And she wants to take on 30,000 more. And he's going, this is a bad decision. Yes, it is. It's kind of like when someone gets a scholarship. And this is something you have to be careful about, especially you young folk out there and you're getting all your scholarships. Check out just exactly how much that scholarship is paying for. What is it paying for? Especially, this is just my opinion. If you're going for a master's degree, great with the bachelor's, get all the scholarships you can. Great. But when you are done with the bachelor's degree and you are sitting on student loan debt, that you are responsible for paying off. And then some school says to you, oh, you know what? Come to our school and we'll give you a scholarship. You better find out just how much that scholarship is actually paying for. Because if you're not careful, that student loan debt that you still have from your bachelor's degree that you don't want to open up your mail and look at, and you're afraid to call Sally Mae, Navient, whomever. Well, if the offer that you get to go to graduate school says, hey, come here, okay, we'll buy your education, you better find out just what parts you're going to be responsible for, including room, board, books, okay, miscellaneous stuff, so to speak, because you're going to have to add that to the debt that you already carry for your bachelor's degree. In other words, I totally see his point here. She's going, well, I'm not going to make enough money to pay off this $250,000 private student loan at 11% interest. So I need to go back to school, get myself into further debt, and then I'll be okay. But look at the meager pay that she's going to get. What is it? 60 to 85K. That's ridiculous. That's what a school teacher makes with a YouTube channel. That is, and if you strapped me with $250,000, seriously, 85K. I mean, I make in the low 80s between YouTube and teaching. You give me $250,000? Are you kidding me? Oh, no. Remember, she wants to go back to school. So now we're talking more than $250,000. This is this sort of thing here where he says, I think it's a bad decision. He is absolutely right, and he needs to go with his gut. What is it? His gut feeling. And this I thought was very, very insightful of him. He says, I don't want to wait until I'm 45 to have children. Because see, he doesn't want to get into the debt. So he understands that before they have kids, not saying you have to be out of debt, not even saying you can't have student loan debt, but it's the debt to income ratio. And he's like, how are you going to pay for all the medical care, the insurance, the child care? God, forbid. I've heard child care stories as much as, what is it? $800,000 a month. And in some really ritzy areas, it might even be that per week, which just seems insane to me. Okay. And he says, I don't want to put my life on hold. I have told you in the past about the fact that when you marry someone who has a lot of debt, I don't care if you marry them, have a relationship, it doesn't matter. Okay. But you're in a relationship with someone who has a lot of debt. You have to ask yourself, will you be happy when you see the friends around you that don't have the same level of debt? That's the key. Okay. They don't have the same level of debt that you have. Will you be happy when you see them doing the things, maybe big life markers that you would like to do, but you can't do it, not because you have debt, but because someone you love and care about that you would like to be in a relationship with, because they have debt? Because I'll tell you something, we can all sit there and go, oh, I love this person so much, yada, yada. Great. Until you realize that your hands are kind of tied, figuratively speaking, that you can't do anything because you're carrying so much debt. And that may be fine to carry for, say, a few years. Heck, I'll even hang on and say 5 years, okay? Which seems like a long time when you're waiting for someone's debt to get paid down. But you might even be able to do that. He's talking till the age of 45, because he's going, look, she already got a house. She comes with 2.5 of my condos, the little sucker that I'm sitting in right now. She comes with 2.5 of those. She comes with a house that you could probably buy today, depending upon the city that you live in. He understands this, and he's enlightened to realize he would not be happy. Now, look, if you are happy, I'm not advocating saying that you must break up. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, before you commit yourself to someone, you got to be really honest. See, because in college, when you're all in college, because they're young, all right? It's easy to go, oh, you've got all that student debt. Oh, no problem. And then you're all in college and everybody's happy because you're not really having to deal with the real world. But once you get out of college and the work hours start and all of that stuff starts to become routine, the 9 to 5, the I'm going to go drive an Uber job and all of that stuff, it will change your perspective about what type of debt you are willing to put up with as you enter your later 20s into your 30s. It's going to change it. And while you may really, really love someone, and it's okay to really, really love someone, you may find that the debt load that they carry is just not something you wish to put your life on hold for, and you should have absolutely no regrets at all, in my opinion. But what you should have regret, however, over is if you've misled that person to believe that their debt is fine and you never say anything, and you lead that person on to think, oh, you're all good with it, when you're really not. And the worst thing you can do is continue the relationship and even go into marrying them and always having that, patch of grudge on your shoulder and getting more and more angry as you realize you can't do anything. And all your friends, meanwhile, the ones that do not have $250,000 debt, yeah, they may have 10, 20, 30. They may even have 50,000, okay, of student loan debt, but they ain't sitting on no $250,000. And you realize they're able to go and do things that you can't do. And again, it's not saying compare yourself to your friends. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is just simply be honest with yourself and really look and ask yourself, will you be happy working extra hours, longer hours, multiple jobs, holding off your life, not for just a few years, but possibly for a decade or more, possibly a couple of decades? Because how old are they? I think it's like 30. Yeah, 26-year-old with $250,000 and growing. Will you be happy holding your life off for a couple of decades? And if you're not going to be happy and you know it, doesn't mean you don't love the person, but you do owe them an honest response sooner, not later, in letting them know you care about them, you love them, but you think you should just remain friends. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that is what this guy ultimately did. He actually did give an update. Not going to read it to you because I'm just going to tell you, but he decided to end the relationship. Said he loves her a lot, but just decided after looking at the Reddit comments and stuff, he said basically he's out. I don't blame him. He's 30. His life is just starting. And this is something people we got to be careful of. And it really doesn't matter whether your life is just starting or whether we're towards the middle or even the end. It's how much debt do you want to be a slave to? And at 30 years old, do I want to see anyone strapped down with $250,000 worth of debt? No. But she made a foolish decision. Got to be honest. I mean, foolish is the nice word. Okay. Foolish decision to take an 11% loan to get some undergrad private school. And, the only winner in this, of course, is the private school. Oh, that was really heartbreaking to read, family. Okay, let's read the next one here. Let's see if I can remember which ones I chose. Oh, let's see. Hold on here. Boyfriend. All right, let's do this one. My boyfriend got into serious debt, and I'm wondering if I should break up with him. All right, let's check it out. This is from 6 months ago. The past year has been really difficult for me, and I feel like I'm at a breaking point. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years now, and while I love him deeply, our situation is starting to take a huge toll on me. Last October, and again, this is from 6 months ago. Last October, he decided to start his own business and bought a truck. He didn't have the full amount, so he paid half and borrowed the rest from a shady guy who basically pushed him into taking the loan, selling him dreams of success. Big mistake. Since it was winter, there wasn't much work and he struggled to repay the debt. The guy he borrowed from started harassing him, calling him 10 times a day, threatening him, and making his life really bad. On top of that, he already had a small debt with the bank that he couldn't even touch because of the stress and pressure from this other guy. Eventually, he cracked under the pressure and gave the truck away just to get rid of the situation. Now he's left with nothing, no truck, no business, and still working full time for a basic salary. I've been the one holding things together for the past 7 to 8 months. I paid for everything: dates, food, essentials. I didn't mind at first because I love him. But now I've realized I have zero savings and nothing to show for all my hard work. I'm working a stable job with no debt or loans, but I'm basically draining myself to keep us afloat. To be clear, he's not using me. He's extremely hardworking and spends every day at work, including weekends. He's also the most caring, loyal, and supportive partner I've ever had. We've never even had a serious fight in all the times we've been together. Emotionally, he's amazing, but financially, it's a disaster. Either he's bad with money or just doesn't have the mindset to manage life like an adult yet. All of our conversations lately are about how he's going to slowly rebuild, save up, and eventually try again with a business. I want to be supportive, but I'm exhausted. The emotional and financial pressure is too much. I'm scared about my future with him. I don't want to keep living like this, barely making it through, always worrying about money, carrying everything on my shoulders. He knows how I feel and keeps reassuring me that he won't stop working and will get us back on track. But I don't know if that's realistic or just wishful thinking. Am I being stupid or naive for holding on to this? Is it wrong to consider breaking up, even if he's loving and loyal? Or should I give it more time and see if he pulls through? All right, again, 6 months ago. They don't say what age they are. I wish they did, because sometimes it gives you a perspective. But let's just put it, they're in their probably late 20s, 30s, if I think of the Reddit crowd and the fact that he has a business. All right, so let's break this down. I love to do. Um, the truck thing. He got a truck from a loan shark. That's what he did. He got a loan shark for the truck, because she even says here, a shady guy who pushed him into taking the loan. No, the shady guy did not push him into taking the loan. That's like saying, well, I went to the car dealership and they pushed me to go buy the Maxima. No, you went and allowed yourself to be pushed and tousled around and you walked away with the bill. So we have some issues there about who is at fault. And this is very important, especially if you want a relationship, because if somebody comes home, you're a married couple, and someone comes home and says, what was that Dave Ramsey story I did? They got married and then the husband buys, I kid you not, a $70,000 Kia. It was like 60 to 70,000. It was nothing less than 60. Okay. And it was like, oh, the husband just felt like he just had to do it, goes into the dealership and, the dealership gave him such a good deal, he felt like he had to buy it. No, nobody pushes you into buying a car. You allow yourself to be led like a little leash when you walk into the car dealership. So no, the boyfriend is totally responsible for the guy. The shady guy did not push him into taking the loan, because that is saying that the boyfriend is too young, too immature to make his own decisions. So everyone else has to be at fault. He may be young and immature, her boyfriend, but he is at fault for the decisions he makes. Let's see. Boyfriend struggles to repay the debt. And of course, the shady guy is calling him. So the boyfriend sells the vehicle and he cracked under the pressure. I'd say her boyfriend has a serious problem with standing on his own 2 feet, making his own decisions. This so-called shady guy has been able to push the boyfriend around, leading him like a little doggy on a leash. So the boyfriend is clearly immature. If I go to a car dealership, okay, and I'm like just looking at vehicles, that's what I did with my what is it? My Nissan, my Nissan, my Toyota Corolla hybrid. I went to the dealership spring of 2024. May was, I think, it was just before school went out. And did I get pushed into a mortgage vehicle? No. Did I crack under the pressure of the sales? No. So it is possible to go into a dealership or any business place, regardless of what's being sold, and maintain your own control. She says that she's been paying for everything. I think she needs to take a serious look at the immaturity of her boyfriend. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think she should end it. And here's why. He seems to be very adverse, and we see this a lot in the TikTok begging stories that we do on this channel. He seems to be very adverse to working a W-2 job. Yeah, she says here he still works full time for some basic salary. Okay, but she says basic. So when I think of basic, I'm thinking near minimum wage. Like, really, he doesn't want to be a W-2 employee. He wants to be self-employed. And he basically wants this girlfriend. This is the impression that I get. He wants this girlfriend to be the one to support him as he tries his hand at self-employment. One, they're not married, so that's one reason I wouldn't do it. But the other is just simply, that's not her job. It is not your boyfriend, girlfriend's job, just my opinion, to be the anchor support while you experiment with your business to see if it's going to work. This is why I would tell her to end it. And ladies, I'm talking to the ladies out here. Okay. I've talked to the guys about this, but it's my turn to talk to the ladies. Ladies, I know you love him, and I know you want the best for him. You want to do everything for him. Okay. But if he's too lazy and immature to realize that self-employment right now is not his thing as far as profit, and he expects you to support him while he tries his hand at it, you need to leave him. Okay. That's where you go, oh, you know what? I'm happy to be friends with you, but we are not moving under the same roof together. That's what you say. Okay. Zero savings and nothing to show for all my hard work. Huh? Where did we just hear something like that? Oh, yes. I believe in the story that I just read. How many minutes ago? 24 minutes ago. Yeah. He decided to leave the gal with the $250,000 private student loan at 11% interest. Oh, that just makes me shake and shiver when I say that. Okay. Because he didn't want to work till he was 45 years old and have nothing to show for it. Yeah. You have a right to want to have something to show for your hard work. You have that right. You've earned it. All right. You want something to show for it. She's working a stable job, no debt or loans, but I'm draining myself to keep us afloat. And he's just your boyfriend. He's not. That's a sentence that you say when you're married. Oh man, I'm just draining myself here to try to keep us together or keep us financially afloat. Okay, you do that when you get married. Your boyfriend, no, no. You each are supposed to bring to the table your capabilities and you try to make it work, right? When you are the floater, the floater and floaty or something like that, and you're on that, what is that, floating board, and you're having to hold it for yourself and him, and you're doing all the kicking and the paddling, and all he's doing is dead weight in the water, you got a problem. That's why she needs to end it. And how many times, and we've heard this on the Ramsey show, especially from women who understand that they have a deadbeat boyfriend, husband, but they're afraid to, end it. What do we hear? Oh, he's extremely hardworking. He works all the time and I just love him. I admire his work ethic. I remember a lady said that once very, very clearly. And her boyfriend is just a total loser. And he had spent a whole bunch of money, like 50,000 or so. How do I remember these guys? I know everything I put on my channel. That's the way it goes, guys. I know everything I put on here. Okay. But he had spent thousands, like to the tune of 50, 60,000 plus. He had hidden it from her. And then when she found out, she was like really, really mad. And then she goes, oh, but he's such a hard worker. And I'm thinking, who gives a crap? Who gives a crap if he's a hard worker? He had $50,000, $60,000 of debt behind your back. Stop using the excuse of, oh, but I love him and he's a hard worker when he ain't doing nothing to help bring something to the table. Again, we are not talking husband and wife. I would feel differently if it were husband, wife. I'd say, okay, give it one last shot, really try, keep each other afloat financially. No, but boyfriend, girlfriend, no. Emotionally, he's amazing. No, he's not emotionally amazing. He can get screwed over just going into a car dealership and the guy can lead him to buy a car. And then the guy understands, hey, if I call him 10 times a day and I harass him, he'll give up the car. No, he is not emotionally amazing. You see, both the Redditor and her boyfriend have emotional, what is it? They have immaturity in different spots. Okay. And I understand she wants to see this relationship with rose colored glasses on and all of that. But no, he is not emotionally amazing. And he is a financial disaster. All right, let's see here. I think we got enough on that one. Yeah, she says emotional pressure and finance is too much. I'm scared about my future with him. Right there, that's the end of that. All right, people, what time is it? Ooh, it is 27 minutes in, and what is it? 8:30 it's 8:50 p.m. But it's vacation starts on Friday. The night is young. Let us continue. All right, let's see. What other story do I have here? I kind of pre-selected this. Don't worry, we're going to be doing these stories eventually. Nope, I didn't want that one. Hold on. Where is it? We're going to do these one later. Where'd it go? Hold on just a second. This one right here. Okay, we're losing money. 33-year-old wife. Excuse me. This is from 9 months ago. We're losing money. And was that wife? Oh, and my husband, 33 years old, and wife, 30 years old, refuses to work. Why can't some of you Redditors write a title that I could actually understand? All right, here we go. This was 9 months ago. This isn't the case of mismatched values, like she wants to be home traditionally. All right, now I get it. It's the husband who's 33 years old writing, and the wife is 30. Okay. This isn't the case of mismatched values, like she wants to be home traditionally and I don't like it. She wants to work, but because the job market is bad, she's not getting any callbacks. Some background. My wife has anxiety that she doesn't see as a problem to her until it's a problem. Panic attack, isolating, crying spells. That's important. Within the pipeline of school, growing up gave her an edge on her performance that essentially converted into depression when she graduated, when she couldn't find a job in her field during COVID. Oh, okay. All right. Now we're going to try to follow this because I'm already confused. Okay. The writing is struggling a little, family. Okay. So the wife has anxiety. And the problem is that she doesn't seem to deal with her anxiety until she's actually in a panic attack. That sounds like she's in a little bit of denial. All right. I think we got it. And she wants to be a stay-at-home wife, and he's fine with that, but it looks like some money is needed. A year before COVID, we were in the same position as now, then that she could do service food job, but she felt it was unfair because she had her degree. I'm going to have to interpret this entire thing. So our setup was she paid for food, I paid for everything else. She has savings she was living off of. And because our rent was cheap, I could still save and pay 100% of it. Let me interpret this, okay? So apparently, the wife has the ability to work in food service, but she doesn't want to because she has a college degree. And I'm interpreting that as she feels working in food service is an insult. We then decided to buy a house. Well, renting, our expenses were 2/6 of our income. In our house, our expenses are 5/6 of our income, all pre calculated with the understanding that she would only go up in her field financially. And I had a steady job and just moved to management. I voiced my concern for her not working before committing. And she said, quote, I'll work because I'll have to, meaning awareness. We are buying based on both our incomes, not just mine, unlike our rent situation where no matter what, my pay covered things. After a year of moving to a house, she didn't like her job. So we agreed she can go to school online full time for 1 year. She will use her savings to pay for school, then re enter the workforce, going from 45 to 70K a year based on her research. I asked. She worked part time for security and her mental health, but she preferred to take more classes and graduate sooner. So she graduated in 1 year instead of two. If she didn't get a job after a few months, she would do service industry until she did. The service industry is like, well, it's the service, wait, hotel staff, stuff like that. Now we are TLDR. Why do people use abbreviations? I do not know what TLDR stands for. Now she can't work. 3 months, no hits on jobs, and it's back to I shouldn't have to. I have my master's degree. Okay. I showed her the finances. She reads and understands. We are now 100% on my income, and it's my savings being the only reason we are floating. And we will have zero savings in 2 years if she doesn't work. If she brings in just $1,000 a month, we break even at least with nothing being taken out of savings. Her logic is she's not depressed like she was. Yes, there's pressure to work again. I'm sorry, the way this person writes, it's just, I'm trying to work around it. She wants to just keep cutting back spending everywhere, which we can, which is essentially nowhere. We are both frugal homebodies. I spend less than $80 on myself for entertainment a month. She thinks the only reason there will be for her to work will be if she's getting depressed again. And because that's not happening and we have enough money to last 2 years, if nothing goes wrong, she should keep holding out. Basically, he has a wife who doesn't want to work. And she doesn't want to work because she feels that service industry work, food service work, that being service industry, is beneath her. And her husband is saying, look, lady, we're going to run out of savings if I'm the only person bringing home anything. And even if you worked and you brought in a meager $1,000 a month, that would only break us even. We wouldn't be able to cover emergencies or anything else like that. I'm trying to interpret my logic. I feel so taken advantage of. It's ridiculous. We literally wouldn't be here if not for my stability. I get no credit, stretch, for providing to the point she can even have a choice. I feel tricked and misled, and reassurances she's not backing up. That's right, because she said, hey, remember, they're taking a side note. They, to me, I got to insert this. The big glaring problem is they bought too much freaking house. Their rent was 2/6 of their income. Their house is 5/6. They're basically house poor. Not basically, they are house poor. And they bought the house with the assumption that she would return to work. And she backed out. Okay. For trying to help those who may be multitasking. Oh, more abbreviations. ISTG. I do not know what that means. Okay. If she was happy being a stay-at-home wife, it'd be an adjustment, but I'd get on board. In other words, again, he's happy with letting her be a stay-at-home wife, but they can't afford it. But the issue is she's not even happy and it's hurting our relationship. All I want to say is I love you, but you need to get your head out of your pretty rear end and take your lesson from life that you're not better than anyone else because of how smart you are. And you're coming off like a spoiled, privileged brat, thinking you're too good for certain kind of work. All right, I'm going to get into all their stuff. Classic case of you marry someone. Yep, this is the one. The classic case of you marry someone, and initially they come across as, yeah, you know what? I'm going to work hard. And yeah, we would like you to be a stay-at-home wife. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, there are some serious risks with that. I might address that someday on this channel. It's not to judge. It's just to simply be, You got to look at the facts of being a stay-at-home parent, mom or dad stay at home. Okay. Um, but this is a classic case of she did a whole about face. I'm going to say it. I'd end it. I would end it before you had a kid. Yes, I would. Because unfortunately for some people, their true colors come out after you get married. That's when you realize they don't really like to work all that hard. And he should feel taken advantage of. Absolutely. She can't bring in a couple $100 a week. Seriously. So in this type of case, before they have kids, it doesn't sound like they have any. And if she's going to use her anxiety as an issue, and to me, anxiety is a very real medical condition. And I know people who have it and really, really struggle with it. And there are things that trigger and all of that stuff. But guess what? They're still really responsible. And they understand that things still have to be done. And they understand they can't just sit and go, well, I have anxiety, so everything shuts down and they don't work. If they do not have children, it does not sound like they do, they absolutely need to end the relationship. And this was a huge mistake, buying the house. The reason I think they should end it now is easier to divorce with just a house to deal with that probably has no equity, because this just ran a few months back, right? Yeah, 9 months ago, than it is to have a kid. And now you got to deal with all of that too. Because this is the type of woman, I guarantee it to you, if they have a kid and they ever divorce, she's going to take him every single time every time she sniffs that he makes an extra dollar, she's going to be right there with her hand out. They bought way too much house. So he's got some responsibility also towards the situation. But should he feel used? Absolutely. And yes, this snootiness of, well, I have a college degree, so I don't believe I should be working in food service and I shouldn't be Ubering, Door Dashing, or anything else. Give me a break. I do childcare. I do childcare after school. And I run my little YouTube channel. To me, nothing is too good. If you can make an extra buck, actually, I have to be honest, and anyone who's followed this channel since I started 5 years ago, this channel was never intended to make money. It just kind of landed into it. And that was probably the saving grace for the channel and why I was able to go for so many years without making anything, because it was never intended. It was never designed to make money. That's why I don't have sponsors and stuff. Speaking of sponsors and stuff, I spoke to a gal pal earlier today. And it was like, I'm really not too interested, at least right now, in sponsorships, because I like my audience to be able to watch it. You don't have to deal with commercials or anything. If you can handle, looking and listening to me, you'll do just fine. But I kind of like having, whole control of my channel and not being obligated to anyone. Being obligated to Google's rules is hard enough. So yeah. Let's see here. Now, what was I getting off topic about? Let's see. I think that was pretty much it. So yeah, taken advantage of. We wouldn't be here if not for my stability. That is where, what is it? Resentment. That's the word. Resentment is going to build in. As a matter of fact, resentment is already building in. So end it. Time to let it go. Okay, that was story 3. There's one more story that I want to do. Let's see here. Left my wife after the debt got out of control. I want to do that one. Hold on just a second. Looking for it. Let's see. We did that one. Okay. This is the last one. This ran 2 months ago. And again, most of these I just skim. That's all I do. All right, here we go. 2 months ago. I'm a 33-year-old male. I left my wife, 33-year-old female, so they are the same age, after her debts got out of control. I'm trying to understand what to do next. All right, let's hit it. We've been married for 13 years and have 2 kids. Things were mostly good. Though she has a strong attitude, I learned to live with it. The problem started with money. She runs a small safari store, and I'm the only one with a fixed salary. Around late 2023, she started taking loans. At first, I didn't mind. I thought it was manageable, but it kept getting worse. To help her, I took a salary loan from my company to consolidate her debts. Later, I found out her brother, he's 30 years old, gave her money to pay his own loan, but she didn't pay it. So I guess she was supposed to pay her brother's loan. I don't know why her brother couldn't pay his loan, but okay. We ended up using my loan to cover her brother's loan. So I took another loan from a microfinance company just to catch up. Quick side note, usually microfinance companies, if I'm correct, they can have very high interest rates. By 2025, this year, things got out of control. She had at least 10 active loans, some with daily interest of 10%. I had no idea until everything fell apart. She kept saying things were fine and hid details from me. When it got really bad, I tried to fix it again. I asked my boss for help. He couldn't approve another loan, but offered a salary increase and 5 months advance. I told my wife, thinking we could finally get stable. Instead, she borrowed again behind my back, assuming my advance would cover it. That was my breaking point. I left and went to my parents' house. I didn't cut her off completely. I still tried to make a plan and asked her to listen and asked her to list all of her debts. She only gave about 90% of the total. The next day, she admitted to more, and the plan collapsed. She wouldn't cooperate. My family and I decided she should stay with her family while I take care of our 2 kids. I'm still paying off some of her loans, but I need to prioritize the kids and our daily needs. I think her family might see me as the bad guy for leaving when things got rough. Maybe they think I abandoned her at her lowest point. I'm not sure. From my side, I just couldn't take it anymore. The lies, the financial mess, and the stress were too much. Again, this was 2 months ago. All right. I would have said to leave, and I'm going to tell you why. We have listened to enough Dave Ramsey stories to know if you want to guarantee yourself a poor retirement, poverty, literally financial poverty, spend your life with someone who does not value money, who does not have the same ideologies about money, who does not respect the effort it takes to make money for your household. Stay with someone like that, and I guarantee you 100%, at least 99.9, you will retire poor. Stay with the I made a promise to myself that by the time I was in my 40s, okay, before I hit 40 years old, I had to have some sort of retirement plan. I had to have done something to become aggressive with retirement. So that's when I decided to become a third generation teacher. I'm in my 20th year. But imagine being with someone who does not think like that. This woman, clearly she has mental health, whatever issues. But you have to decide how long you're going to stick around in a relationship that is just going to financially destroy you. And you think divorce is bad? I'll tell you what's worse than divorce: staying with someone who's going to financially destroy you, and you'll never be able to retire. And he's young. He's 33. He's smart, and he's got kids. And he sees the writing on the wall already. He sees it. And he's going, oh my God, you know what? If I stay with her, we're going to be broke. Yes, because like I was just saying, by the time I was 40, I had a retirement plan down. I became a teacher at 38. He's 33 years old. Does he want to, in all of his 30s and all of his 40s and possibly his 50s, deal with this? This is almost, I don't know what a mental health issue is, but maybe she's an addict. Sounds like she's an addict of some sort. Maybe she's spending it on gambling, whatever. He doesn't say like it's a shopping addiction, but anything that takes money out of the family pot, and especially when it's not agreed upon by the family, okay, the 2 adults, involved, or in some relationships now, 3 or 4 adults. Hey, I don't care on this channel, okay? Live your best life, all right? But the adults that are financially responsible for the household, if you are not on the same page, I'm be honest with you, okay? And I'm not saying this because I got dumped and left and all of that with my divorce, all right? No secret on this channel. But there is one very large silver lining for me. I was able to get my finances in order. Now, I'm not going to blame and say one person was at fault for the finances. I was no financial expert, okay, when I was married. All right. I was more of the saver, and we can kind of tell because when I got divorced, I immediately started doing just that, holding on to money. So that was in me all along. But it can be very hard to do that, if next to impossible, if you are with someone who doesn't see money the same way. I was in a relationship, will not say which one, okay, years back, and the person that I was dating at the time came home with a $500 vehicle a month for years and years commitment that I had no idea about. See, that sort of thing, okay? Thousands and thousands of dollars. Went in to go buy a $300 part to put in the vehicle. And I literally get a call years ago and was told, hey, just bought a vehicle. Won't say what type because it's not important. And I was like, what's the monthly pay? $500. I had no idea. We just got ourselves into a $40,000, $50,000 vehicle. See, if you want to guarantee poverty, stay with someone who does not respect money. And that does not mean, oh, you guys are all just thinking about the money. You're all living for the money. No, but talk to anybody who's in their 50s. I'm 58. Talk to anybody who's in their mid 50s with not two shekels to rub together. And they're calling in going, I'm not sure. I'm 55, 58, 61 years old and I've got nothing. Money is not important until you actually need it. So let's see here. 2025, things out of control, 10 active loans. I've been there. Bankruptcy 1, all on credit cards. You could lie. You could have made wallpaper in my room probably with the credit cards. I mean, that's a little facetious there, but work with me. 10 credit cards or active loans. Daily interest at 10%. And this is the problem sometimes, guys. When you're with someone who does not respect money and their financial choices are affecting you, guess what? They don't respect you either.